Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Apologies, I know this is late. Game ended late last night. I had things that I had to do with family stuff, and here we go. We are going to talk about the Indiana Fever pulling out a very, very ugly win against the Atlanta Dream last night. Um, Look, one thing I try to pride myself on, and I know there's a lot of obviously opinion in sports talk. That's one of the things that makes it fun. We're not all going to agree on everything all the time. But even as a huge Caitlin Clark fan and obviously Indiana Fever fan, I never want to just blow smoke, which means sometimes being critical of a team and players that we are fans of, which is should not be seen as unacceptable. It's normal. And it's wild because in people I've been talking to before I did this. Now, normally I wouldn't get the after noise because of doing the post game, like immediately after the game, which I will be doing tomorrow for a big game. We'll see how I was going to say bounce back, even though they won, because it kind of feels like a loss. But we've got to one side, and there's obviously everyone in between, but we've got to one side like the absolute Stephanie White is it cult. She can do no wrong. And the reasons given for things that are being done are just almost delusional to me. And then, of course, you got the other side where it's like Christy Sides is better. And, time for Stephanie White to go and a little bit of everything in between. So as always, going to do my best to give you my thoughts on why I think certain things and, good things and bad too. I'm not going to skimp over the bad. So it'll be interesting to see how many people unsubscribe because I already got threats from people to unsubscribe when I mentioned I didn't want Sydney Colson playing much in my pregame video. 16 minutes. I talked about it for 30 seconds and I got a lecture on being negative and I shouldn't talk that way. But anyway, obviously they pulled out a big win. It was an important win. It was an ugly win. And as a youth coach, one of the big things with young players always is you want to have them want to win, right? You want players to go out with that competitive fire, never giving up, giving forth that effort. But it's not always just about winning because when they're younger, you're trying to teach them everything. You're trying to develop them as players, and that should be your focus. But when you're pros, a win is a win, and you will take the ugly ones as well because you may need them by the end of the season, and it could help you be ready. That doesn't mean there aren't problems as to why you lost this game. And I see from my thumbnail, I'm sure. Look, Natasha Howard, I thought she was terrible last game. I didn't think she was much of her in game one either, really. I still think there are some issues there. I wasn't great with her saying she wants to be MVP, but she had a monster game. And they needed her to have a monster game. 26 points on 12 of 17, which was fantastic because, Boston got in foul trouble early. Caitlin Clark got in foul trouble as well. Lexie Hull ended up getting in foul trouble. And so, I mean, Aaliyah Boston was limited to 23 minutes. She was only 2 of 7 from the field and 4 points. Thankfully, Brittany Griner got in foul trouble and didn't play many more minutes. I think she played like 25, if I'm not mistaken, and had single digits. 2 of 6, 5 points, 7 rebounds. Her and Boston almost had identical stat lines of being limited by foul trouble. But there's a lot of uproar about the game plan. Now, there's a lot about Caitlin Clark didn't play that well, and also with the game plan, we wanted to make sure that players learn to play without Caitlin Clark. And okay, well, you can do that when Caitlin Clark's on the bench. You can do that in training. You don't do that from the tip. When you have Caitlin Clark on the team, it doesn't make sense. You never ever saw this with Michael Jordan. You never saw it with Kobe Bryant. You never saw it with Magic Johnson. I mean, there are guys like Magic where it didn't mesh with the coaching, and the coach ended up getting fired because you have a player who's your system. Caitlin Clark is the system. I don't understand. These are the issues that I had with last night, and there's some good stuff too. But Caitlin Clark did not have a great game. However, I think that's partially because of the fact that Caitlin Clark was relegated almost to bystander from the tip. She was not bringing the ball up. This wasn't about her being off the ball sometimes, and maybe they're running plays off screens like you'd see with a Steph Curry, or you go back to, you know, the Indiana. We'll stick with Indiana Pacers and Reggie Miller, who ran off screens a lot. You had Rip Hamilton in Detroit, who ran off screens a lot. But we weren't doing that with Caitlin Clark. You had, remember last game where she ran off, because I praised it, that great screen from Aaliyah Boston to get her open for a free. But last night it was they never even looked for her when the Fever got a defensive rebound. No one even looked at Caitlin Clark. She was not the point guard last night, which is bizarre to me. And then a lot of times they were running the same, at least the start. There may be variations after the initial start, but there was a start of Caitlin Clark was either going to the corner or she was going down to like free throw line extended where there was a crowd and setting picks and getting beat up. Because guess what? You want to be physical with a player? It's great if they're setting picks on you because you run into them. Okay. This whole talk of her being off the ball to give her active rest, that wasn't it because, again, it was from the tip. And she's out there having to set screens and she's getting beat up more on the screens than she is with the ball, which didn't make a whole lot of sense for me. And then you have ripples. Okay. Kelsey Mitchell was not Kelsey Mitchell because she reverted to the old Kelsey Mitchell too often because Caitlin Clark wasn't bringing up the ball and getting Kelsey her shot. Kelsey was bringing it up a lot. Natasha Howard was bringing it up. And so Kelsey was looking for herself. She was having one of those games, which is why she shot 7 of 19 and 1 of 6 from three. She had a negative point to shot number, 17 points, 19 shots. That is not good for anyone. You certainly don't want that from the caliber of shooting guard that Kelsey Mitchell is. And yes, players have off nights and players have off shooting nights. But, and the same with Caitlin Clark only being 4 of 11, right about the same, right? And she was 0 for 5 from three. By the way, first time in her WNBA career, think about that, went an entire season with Christy Sides and made at least one three-pointer per game. 3 games into the Stephanie White regime, and that streak is snapped. And again, both Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, in part, I think their shooting was affected by the system they were playing, which is not the system that is conducive to the success of these players and of these teams. There can be minutes and reasons where you're having someone else bring it up, but this was pretty much an entire game thing, which I just don't understand. It didn't make sense to me. The team never looked in sync. And the other thing, besides the impact on the two of them in general and on Kelsey Mitchell's shooting, there was no running game. There was no transition game. I'm not saying they didn't try and push the pace a little bit, but all those easy buckets that they got last year were non-existent in this game, except one, which I will show you. I do have some clips I want to show you. Okay, so I did line up a few to talk about, but the key to this game, obviously, Natasha Howard is a starter, and she should be a known entity. So, and that's not taking away from her. She had a monster game. This game flipped because it was a struggle early for Indiana. Well, it was a struggle all game, but they were losing early. Sophie Cunningham came in. Finally, she's playing. Sophie Cunningham came in. She flipped the script, changed everything around, changed the momentum. And then on top of that, obviously, Lexie Hull was Lexie Hull. I feel like that's the way to describe it now because every night, Lexie Hull brings something that helps the team, brings her defense, brings her effort, brings her hustle. Even when she's not shooting well, she's adding other things, brings her passing, goes at, she was 4 of 7 last night, 2 of 2 from three, 10 points, 4 assists, couple of steals, and that was with foul trouble. She got in foul trouble as well. And I'm not huge on the plus minus, but there are, it can be helpful at times. Natasha Howard and Caitlin Clark were +5. Despite Caitlin Clark's struggles, her and Natasha Howard were the only starters that were the margin of victory. Bonner's still struggling. Bonner had a point. She had 0 last game. Do I think she'll get on track? Yes, but I think there has to be things that we're to do that we're not doing to get her there. And by the way, she had 8 rebounds in her 19 minutes, okay? So it's not like she can't add other things to the team. So we're not looking at just points. There were things that she did well. but minus 12. Boston was -3. Mitchell was a break even. Howard and Clark were the +5. But then look at Cunningham and Hull. +10 for Sophie in only 20 minutes, 3 of 6, 2 of 4 for 3, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. +10, Lexie Hull +14. It was good to see Dantas actually get some minutes, and her shot wasn't really there, although she hit a 3, 1 of 3, but she played well in 17 minutes. I thought she played because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, she can't defend at all in the block." I thought she defended pretty well. She also, in those 17 minutes, had 6 rebounds. That's a big deal, okay? That's important. But this team simply didn't run. Now, there are other issues too, and we're gonna talk about those. Now, like, this was ridiculous, if this is what I thought, right? Ryan Howard gets called for the foul. Like, this is going to be all season long. I don't know why people keep saying that they're friends. I don't know that that's necessarily true when I've seen some stuff that Howard has said. Maybe she pretends to be at times, but everyone's like, they want to beat her up and they want to clout chase. But she was actually called for a foul. Then she's got to come in and shove Clark and then walk after her and yap her damn mouth. I like competition. Don't get me like I love that, but the problem is this is obviously very targeted toward Caitlin Clark, right? We'll get a lot of this. And to that other point, here's an issue that is very difficult, going to be very difficult as we've seen in these few games. And I think the referees are actually worse now than they were last year for Caitlin Clark because it's not just the obvious dirty plays. What they're letting go is a whole lot of physicality and guarding on the ball, stuff that is absolutely a foul. Hand checking, the hands on the hips, the forearm into the body, the holding, the clutching, the grabbing to try and slow Caitlin Clark down. Those are fouls. Ryan Howard should have fouled out in the first quarter of both of these games instead of being able to be an important part of the defense and the offense. She should not have been on the court. And we've seen that now in consecutive games. So that's a problem. And that's what a lot of people were saying that, well, Caitlin Clark's off the ball because of that defense on her. Again, she was off the ball to start the game. And isn't that what the coach is supposed to do? You get these star players the ball, right? There's a story going way back, and I think someone mentioned it in the comments actually a couple videos ago, and it's not just him, but Larry Bird. A play was drawn up, and I think there was a rookie in the game or a young player who's inbounded, and they're going on the court, and Larry's like, "Yeah, forget all that. Just I'm going to get to this spot, and that's where you're going to give me the ball." Right? Michael Jordan, the same thing. Kobe, this. Do you think those players were passive? Do you think they were ever decoys? Do you think the team said, "Oh, well, they're guarding them tough. We're not going to get them the ball"? How is it they were doing it last year? Did we forget the second half of the season despite having Christie's sides? What so much of that game was Caitlin got a rebound or the team got a rebound and instantly, right? You saw that. Forget the struggles at the beginning. Once they figured it out, someone gets a rebound and it was immediate. They looked for Caitlin Clark. It was a boom. I'm going to get Caitlin Clark the ball because then we're going to get the ball down court. Kelsey Mitchell's going to run. Lexie Hull's going to run. Temi before she got hurt. Temi's going to run. Aaliyah Boston would run, and they're getting easy buckets. And now it's like they've decided to completely go away from that. And I hope it adjusts. Look, Stephanie White could have looked at this, and good coach says, you know what? Caitlin Clark off the ball all the time isn't that great because it makes it difficult for us to get the offense we want. And I get they won. I get that I'm talking about this in the win, and they have to win. And it's great that they were able to win playing this way. But I'm also looking forward into how it's going to go because if this is the blueprint, it's going to be a struggle. They have the talent to win games, but I just don't think this is the blueprint for a championship, which is where they should be at. Right. And then we had this right here. And here's the other issue. And a lot of people were talking about you've got the physicality against Caitlin Clark that's not being called. But then you're calling stuff like this, which I don't even see a foul at all, and you're calling stuff like this on Caitlin Clark, which just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I just don't get that. I don't get that at all. And then a couple more I want to break down because here is the problem. This is the one time, and it's because she got the rebound. You see Caitlin Clark get the rebound, and they get the easiest of buckets. This is the blueprint. Yes, I get you can't do it all the time, but based on last night's game, we've eliminated from the playbook. And by the way, the other thing is Sophie Cunningham is the one running the court, which we'll get to in a second. Okay, now look where Sophie is, right? As soon as she saw the bottom left corner, if you're looking at your screen, as soon as she saw Caitlin's getting that rebound, look where Sophie is. She's almost to half court. Now, I know she was guarding someone out there, but she's almost to half court already, okay? Because she gets it. I haven't seen that yet from these other players. I haven't seen Bonner getting out there. I haven't seen Howard getting out there. That's a huge mistake. So Sophie, boom, Sophie's out there. Watch this. Caitlin Clark head up, 2, 3 dribbles, doesn't get past half court. Great pass. Easy, easy bucket. That's the easiest bucket you're going to get. And the Fever should get a number of those every single game. And they absolutely did not last night because of the offense they were trying to run. I don't like it. I don't like it. In limited minutes, I can see it. But it seemed like last night it was a full-on thing. It was, we're not going to have Caitlin Clark be on the ball. It doesn't make sense to me. She is your system, right? You can run a lot of things off her. You can do other things, but it makes no sense to not have the focal point of your offense be Caitlin Clark with the ball. Oh yeah, just a couple more examples of I'm gonna play this so you can hear these announcers because this was kind of wild. But here's another great play. This type of play. I don't even have the sound. I don't even have the sound on. Sorry about that. I want you to actually hear them. But this is a great play by Sophie Cunningham towards the end of the game. Made a huge
And
difference
right
in the
here,
game.
she draws the offensive foul on Brian Howard. And it was a little bit of an acting job, I'm not going to lie. That was a lot.
Shush. By the way, just complaint here by me in general. If you're going to do nationally televised games, even if it's streaming on some place like Amazon, you need a national crew. Do not give me a local feed with local announcers from the Atlanta Dream because it was nails on a chalkboard, blood shooting out of my eyes listening to that stuff. Uh, but a couple of more things because this is important. This is just again just to show you how important Sophie Cunningham is going to be to this team. We already saw a couple of great plays, the energy she brings, but this is important. Look, it's Indiana's only up 2 here. 3:53 to go in the third. Atlanta's trying to push out. And oh no, I think that was Natasha Howard as well with an initial stop. But here's the other key, right? Like confidence, boom. I'm gonna embrace this big moment. Howard made, I think she got a hand on that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Howard got a hand on that. But there's Sophie to pick up the loose ball and dagger immediate. Immediate. We're gonna get that type of shot off. And then one other thing I want to show you is again how important Caitlin Clark is, okay? 77-76. We've got 43 seconds left. And again, for those, the defender's being physical here, okay? She's got the forearm on Caitlin Clark's hip. By the way, that should not be allowed. Anybody who's ever played any sport, you get someone who gets their hand on your hip, it doesn't take much to take you out of what you want to do and slow you down just enough. But despite that, Caitlin Clark is able to get herself in a great situation. The Fever are up 1 with 43 seconds left. This is a huge possession for the Indiana Fever. But Caitlin Clark can shake this, which is, again, why I don't understand why she didn't have the ball last night. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to, but look, I'm going to go. No, I'm going to stop. No, I'm going to go. Because guess what? First of all, you got to worry about that 3, right? Because if you overcompensate when she's going to the hoop and speeds up, she's going to step back and hit a wide open 3 on you. And again, now you worry about that, but then that means she can also go to the bucket. So it's like, pick your poison, peeps. But watch this. Okay, you can see where Caitlin Clark's pulling up. Aaliyah Boston, really intelligent here. Look how she sealed off her defender in the other direction, right? She's not playing back the basket here. She recognized what Caitlin's doing. She's got herself turned. She's got her backside into that defender like you're supposed to, hand up, because she knows what only one player in the league can make this pass, and that is Caitlin Clark. That is a phenomenal, phenomenal pass. A great job by Boston on the read and to go up and get it. And then again, I'm going to finish with another great by Boston is watch what she does. You think, okay, she can get this and go up, right? But maybe she's going to get fouled or she's she's going to miss this shot because you know the defender is going to contest this. So what does Boston do? She uses her basketball IQ and says, "Oh, nope, I'm not going to go right away. I'm going to wait and make you jump. Yeah, I'm going to get you in the air. But again, we're going to run through this one more time. Caitlin Clark's got it. I'm going to go. No, I'm going to stop. No, I'm going to go." This pass is ridiculous. No one else makes that pass. And there it is. Now it's 79-76. Wait, right? 79-76? Yeah, 79-76. Sorry. I was like, "Wait, did they change that score already?" But no, that made it 79-76. Yeah. So that's a huge, huge bucket because the most the Dream can do now is come down and tie the game at most. And there was plenty of time on the shot clock because I think that was maybe with like 36 seconds left, that even if they do tie it, the Fever are going to have plenty of time for another possession to get a good look. If they go for the quick two, it had to be a quick two, right? Either a quick two or they get it late and the Fever can, then you got to start putting them in a foul situation. So, and again, I'll finish off with what it was really good. They won despite not playing well. Natasha Howard had her breakout game, which is really, really good. Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham are huge for this team. By the way, back to my point about Sydney Colson, she only played 5 minutes. Bree Turner didn't play at all. Demiris Dantas got 17 minutes. Now, the thing is, I don't think she would have gotten that if Aaliyah Boston hadn't gotten in foul trouble. So you can take that too as a positive, in that it was good to get Demiris going, to get her out and get some minutes, because I think she needs over the season to be playing 12 to 18 minutes a game. I think she's going to be an important part of this team if they really want to make that run. So, there was some really good stuff in it. My big concern was I didn't like I didn't like the offense. It was an entire game, it felt like, of Caitlin off the ball, which is just not. And again, I don't say that as, oh, it's all about Caitlin. No, it's if you want the Fever team to have success, this is who you play through, just like a lot of the players I mentioned. Do you think for the Sixers at the end of a game, Allen Iverson was going to be a decoy, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? There are just certain players that have that they can't be without the ball. They can't be decoys at the end of the games like last game, but I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And guess what? It is cool if you disagree and thought the game plan was awesome. It is. Believe it or not, sports fans can have these kind of fun conversations. Be like, "You're an idiot." No, you're an idiot. And you're not really meaning it. You don't hate the other person. You're having a fun sports conversation. And it can be deep and it can be real as well. And you can be getting into the weeds of knowing the game of basketball and still disagree. And that is fine. Me, I didn't like it. It was a concern for me to see that type of offense. You may love it. That's cool. We can still be friends. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out this video. As always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you later.